In the late 90s, a company tried to change what computer games looked like for young girls, and for a moment they succeeded, but just 2.5 years later, they were gone.
So what happened to Purple Moon, and how did a company that was gaining so much momentum vanish so quickly?
First, we're going to have to take you back to 1996. If you were a girl growing up during this time who enjoyed PC games, your options were pretty limited. Barbie games, which were very popular at the time, usually revolved around makeovers or fashion. Your only other choices were really educational games and programs like Paint. There wasn't much middle ground, and most serious video game companies were marketing towards boys. That's where Brenda Laurel comes in. Brenda had been doing research on how girls play for the past 4 years at Interval Research. They interviewed over 1,000 girls across multiple cities. They looked at how girls socialize, how they handle conflict, and what kind of stories and activities held their attention.
The conclusion that Brenda and her team came to was that girls in that age range often preferred experiences built around complex social interactions, relationships, and emotional decisions rather than competition or high scores. The other thing that Brenda noticed was that there was a noticeable drop-off in girls' comfort with technology around 6th or 7th grade, and Queen Brenda was ready to take on that challenge. And that's when Purple Moon was founded.
Purple Moon.
Their goal was pretty clear. They wanted to make computer games that actually reflected the way girls that age played and socialized.
So in 1997, they released their first title called Rockett's New School, where you played as a girl named Rockett who was entering a new junior high school. Most of the gameplay was about conversations, friendships, rivalries, and other social pressures. The choices you made in the game reflected how the other characters in the game interacted with you. They also built a website that ended up being as important as the game themselves. Girls could go online, hang out, collect little virtual gems, decorate their own spaces, and just hang out in their own little virtual world. I remember this website. I was on it constantly. At the website's peak, it was pulling in more engagement than Disney's website.
My personal favorite was the Secret Path series, which was a little different from the Rockett series. These were like visual novels where you met in this magic clubhouse in the forest. Each girl had her own little problem to resolve, and the way that you resolved it is you unlocked little bits of her story by walking through the forest. And then when you put it all together, you unlocked a bigger like folklore story.
On the outskirts of the village, she was spry and cheery, wanting nothing more of the world. The villagers feared for her, saying,
For a while, things were going really well. They put out a few more games, and Rockett's New School sold over 250,000 copies. But unfortunately, that wasn't the kind of success that kept the people in charge happy. Purple Moon was still mostly being funded by Interval Research, and they didn't think the numbers that they were pulling in were enough. So they pulled the plug because they just weren't making the kind of money investors wanted to see during the late 90s tech boom. In February 1999, the company was shut down just 2.5 years after it started. Mattel bought whatever was left over the assets, but they never released another Purple Moon game. The whole thing just kind of disappeared, leaving girls like me wondering what happened to our favorite game all these years later and eventually making a YouTube video about it.